Welcome. My name is Watson Wu. I do composition, sound design, and a lot of field recording for film, TV, and video games. And today, specifically, we're going to do uh, game audio. Okay. So, who was there yesterday checking out the motorcycle session? Okay. Cool. Did you get there on time? Okay. So, what I did first, I want to go over my equipment. Um, so here, I have lavalier microphones, typically the lapel microphones, and the two I use are DPA. It's a Denmark-made microphone, and Rode lavalier, and made in Australia. So the Rode is very affordable, but the DPA can handle really high decibels. So if you have like a muscle car, a race car, it's gonna be able to take that loud sound. Whereas the Rode, you can do some loud, but more of the common cars, more stock cars, cars off the factory. So, um, so for a motorcycle, I conceal the lavalier behind the visor of the motorcycle. That way, when you're driving fast at a certain speed, the wind goes over the visor, and it would not directly hit the microphone. And so I use Ryco wind jammers, little wind jammers that I could put it in there, and I use gaffer's tape so that I could tape it in securely. And when you're done, you could peel it off. So it's not duct tape; it's gaff tape. And so we use this on race cars. Race cars going 180 miles per hour. So we have a mic outside, where we carefully tape it on, and the car is doing 180, 180 around the track, and it's not coming off. All right. Once in a while, it'll start coming off, so we retape it again. Sometimes when it's really hot and humid, they will come off a little, so you got to watch it the entire time. So it's really important to have, like Pro Gaff, Sure Tape are good brands I use. You want it sticky. There are this is the cloth base. There are paper tapes that we sometimes use, but paper tape is not as strong as cloth tape. Okay, so what's great about these cables is that I could extend them a lot longer. So if I'm recording a huge semi truck, I could run literally 65, 100-foot length of cables, and they're so thin that if I'm recording a car, I could put it in the engine hood, close and open without snapping the cable. So if you look at regular audio cables, this is on the thin side. They're usually thicker than that, so you can't really close the engine hood with these. And so these are great. Um, the exhaust. So that motorcycle we used yesterday was great. Where the seat was, um, it's right where the exhaust was. So I have a road blimp that I've sized down. I call it my mini me road blimp. And if you use a regular one, it's like 20 inches, so it's kind of hard to put it there. So I had this on the back of the seat with the bungee cable tied around, and I have the mic facing rear to capture the exhaust that's right below, so you're gonna get that clean sound. Now you're not gonna be able to do that for other motorcycles. They might have the exhaust way down there, so you gotta figure out a different way, right? So um, that's a mics. So typically I do two tracks on a motorcycle, and cars could be 4 to 8 channels to 10 channels. And yesterday I used a Tascam DR100 Mark II recorder. So it allows me to put in professional microphones. And typically I put engine mic on the left channel, channel 1, and channel 2 on the right channel is the exhaust. Because I'm always thinking from the driver's perspective. What's in front of me is the engine, or down here, the motorcycle, and the exhaust is behind me. So I always think of that way, from the driver's perspective. And we had shotgun mics. Those you see the two guys right there, yeah, Chris and Richard. They were holding shotgun mics, stereo shotgun mics, and XY stereo microphones. And this is another thing I use. Sometimes the Zoom H2N. Put it down there and put it on really low, and have the driver drive really close to it, so that the XY pattern you can hear that stationary static XY sound. Whereas the other guys, they're following the motorcycle. So you're gonna hear that long distance of coming really close and following, and you can hear the distance of capturing as much as possible all the way down. So yeah, so that's some of the gear we use. And so, anybody have questions on gear before we move on? Yeah. X what? This one right here? Okay, that's the Sennheiser 8040. Yeah, it's they're pretty small. They're like half of a pencil mic. Really expensive. It's like 2,000 just for the stereo, and then the mount is like another 1,000. So that's like $3,000 right there. You know, and his other mic is a Neumann MS stereo, and that's $3,500 right there. So it's just a lot, very expensive. But you can do a lot with less. All right. But if you want the finest fidelity, yeah, that's what Richard was carrying, right there. So him right there alone is over $10,000. You know, that's a car. That's a car, right there. So, anybody ever heard of Rev? Rev and Wise. It's a software that lets you play with the RPMs. And I'm gonna play a video of Rev, so you get an idea of what it does. People use it because it keeps the CPU down instead of using the traditional holding the RPMs and then pitching to the next RPM. It's too much for the CPU. So.
Alright, so let's take a look at Rev. This is the main tool window. We're going to start just by opening up a recording of a car accelerating through its entire RPM range. As you can see, it's got a very complex harmonic signal, and we're going to do some analysis to make sense of that. So we'll mark out the segment that we want to actually use. So we'll drop an in marker at the start and an out marker at the end. And let's have a listen to the original file. Alright, sounds great, but now we're going to do some analysis on this file, and that's going to give us a lot more control over the playback. We'll be able to go backwards and forwards and even stop this file at any point we want to. Let me just save that off. As you could hear, I had complete control over the direction and speed of the playback of that audio file. So let's take a look at the backside of this recording. So this is the deceleration. A lot more noise in the content, but there's some harmonic structure there. So let's mark our segment again and do another analysis and see what we get. Alright, that's going to work, so let's save that one off. And now let's take a look at the modeling section. So here's where we combine different elements. You can add up to 4 parts: an acceleration, a deceleration, a looping idle, and even discrete pops for backfires and sputters. So in this case, we're just adding the accel decel, and let's go to the simulator.
Anybody ever played Need for Speed? Yeah, that's the Need for Speed technology. So Adam Boyd and his business partner, who was an engineer, made Rev, and because nobody had a rights to that technology in Need for Speed. They had a different name for that software that they made for the company, but nobody claimed it. So Adam and his business partner created one, and now it's licensed to WYs. So so when you're driving from idle up to the red line of a vehicle, let's say a motorcycle, in first gear, so that it's called ramp. So ramp is from idle driving smoothly up to the red line. So it's ramp going up, and then you decelerate in the same first gear, ramp going down. So from the top of the red line, you slow down gradually all the way down to complete stop. So that's ramp up, ramp down, and you have idle. So by doing that, you heard an example of Camaro file. You hear that he's going all the way up to red line, and it's not shifting. But yet, when he put that sound file into Rev, that software is doing shifting for you. So that continuous energy. So that's why when you play for Need for Speed and other games that use the Rev technology, you're hearing that. So you got that one recording of a good ramp, but yet now you're driving really fast. The software is simulating, wow, he's doing 12,000 RPM, which is not possible in a Camaro, but it sounds cool. So we trick the ears with this technology, and so that's what we do. We entertain, we make it exciting. So that fast rotation at RPM, that's what tricks the ears. So we don't have to record a car going 200 miles per hour, because actually in reality, when you drive that fast, it's not exciting. It doesn't sound exciting. It looks cool. That's it. The car's going really fast, but it's the tricking of the ears with the RPMs, and that's what Rev is. So yesterday's recording, we had did some ramps, did some steady RPMs. So depending on how you're gonna make your game, or your client who you're working for, at being an audio person, that said, well, we need the ramp or the sweep of high going up to the red line. We need several versions of that, and some of my clients asked for, I want ramp also in second gear. So if you have a stick shift car, you're driving, you got to shift to the second gear, and then from second gear smoothly up to the red line, and then do it again for third gear. So again, it's a stick shift car. You drive first gear, you go really quickly second and third, and then you just floor it and get it up to the red line. But second gear and third gear, it's kind of scary, because by the time you get to the red line on third gear, you could be 100, 110 miles per hour just to get to the red line. Certain cars, I did Need for Speed, the last one, did a modified Scion FRS. It's not a fast car. That car is made for cornering. So the third gear, we're going down, almost running down the road. I'm like, dude, we're running down the road. He's like, it's all right, keep going. So he's trying to push the car. He's got it pedal to the ground, and he's trying to get to the red line. And we're like, oh, it's running down the road. And he finally did it. He achieved the red line, and then he backed it off. But it's like, not far from me, it's my top secret road where I allegedly do certain things there. And so we take motorcycles there, Porsche, Ferrari, all kinds of cool cars. And when the budget's good enough, we assign, people look out to walkie-talkies. Hey, abort. There's an office coming by. Allegedly. All right. You didn't hear from me. So I'll play some files from yesterday. Because we lacked the road and the time, I only did some quick sessions. So this is the Suzuki motorcycle. So that was a quick version of a ramp. Ideally, I'd like to go a lot longer. That way, you're going to get that wide spectrum of all the different sounds coming from the bike. And again, the top one is the engine. But it's funny that in certain vehicles, like especially motorcycle, when they haven't been modified, sometimes the engine and exhaust almost sound the same. It's when you get a motorcycle with the aftermarket exhaust, then you could hear clearly, oh, that's definitely exhaust, and that's the engine. So that's why I try to put the mic further away from the exhaust, hopefully to capture more of the engine. Unfortunately, this one, they both sound very similar. So here's just the engine by itself. So to me, I'm hearing exhaust in that as well. All right. And then here's the exhaust soloed by itself. And you could hear it that it's right by the exhaust, so you can hear clearly the more thicker sound. And the mic in there is a Sennheiser 421. It's a big, thick, dynamic mic to be able to capture the bigger and low end. And so and later on we jumped out. We did steady RPMs. So some of the older school video games, they want while driving steady RPMs, low, medium, high, and the software will pitch for you. So if you're playing on an Xbox controller, you pull the trigger, you're accelerating, so it's pitching up again. So sometimes I've done jobs where they want every 1,000 RPM recorded. So I'll try to do 10 seconds of each. And unfortunately, we don't have that space behind the hotel. So I'm thinking you could get 1.5 seconds from that loop. Also, the rider's display was not working, so he couldn't see what RPM he was doing. It was by ear. He hit something there, I think. Yeah, by the time he got up to speed, he ran on the road and he quit. So that was that. So go back to the beginning here with the ramp. So you saw in the video that he took the acceleration and put it in and saved it, and then he did it again for deceleration, and then he had a idle sound. So you wanna. So right before it takes off, so you may want to highlight. So deceleration is actually right there. So you could highlight what you want. So this area that's highlighted now for stereo, and I could render that. I can then export that as a motorcycle acceleration. So I'm keeping it at stereo and 24-bit 96 kilohertz to keep the high quality. And a lot of games you don't need that. We get it down to maybe like the CD quality, and it still sounds good. 44.1 kilohertz. For now, I just keep it at 96. More is better. All right. So I render that. I have it already, so I overwrite it. So quick. So right there I have the acceleration. So if I right, so that plug that into the rev, and then I have the deceleration. I would say motorcycles are really hard because you twist the throttle to go up speed, and you have to very carefully, slowly throttle back, because a lot of times yesterday he would throttle up, and then when he lets go of the throttle, he goes gone. It's like, so I had to tell him, let's do it again, but this time slowly, slowly let it go. But again, you're running out of space. There's the trees and walls, other cars. So that's why you need to find your own top secret road or rent a racetrack, which we've done. So the top secret road I use is like a mile and a half. It's awesome. You know, it's like not around trees, and you can see if there's a car coming by or an animal. So it's a really advantage of where I live. And then you have the idle. Okay, so if you're playing like Need for Speed, let's say a motorcycle version, you're the driver. You could then, your engine's always on idle until you squeeze the trigger to start driving. So that software lets you again pitch and go to different RPMs. So it's almost like the comical Fast and the Furious. You seen the first Fast and the Furious? Anybody? All right. So that first race, he must have shifted 20 times in that. It's like, what kind of car is that? I want that car. I want to shift 20 times, you know, and look at the laptop when I'm driving, when to do the nitrous. So that's basically it. And then I'll play some other files. What we doing here? Let's see. So Chris had the mono shotgun. So back at the hotel, you're seeing a lot of leaves blowing. So you want a mono shotgun mic if you want to get that following the sound. That way it isolates. It's not going to pick up the side and the rear. If there's an engine going on, somebody's moving a truck way back there, you want that mono mic to isolate the recording. So here's his mic. So this is RX. This is what I use to remove unwanted sounds like birds and stuff. So his job was yesterday was to follow the bike. Wherever the bike was going, he would follow it. And then by pointing at it, he could still maintain the characteristics of the bike as it's going further away. So it's got a nice tightness to it and a far reach. And if you look over here, you're seeing noise. All right? So you could, let's see. I could highlight this area, and remove it. So a little different from yesterday. Spectral repair. So bird and a lot less. So I could refine it more, get more details. Typically I'm using my workstation at home, my Mac Pro, so set up better. So there are other plugins I use, like a Wave X Noise, which is really good for overall. But if I want to get very specific, RX is the way to go. Okay, so the first sounds I played for you were on board. We have on board what you hear from the driver's perspective, and then now you have the external pass-bys, and that's what this is. And we had two other microphones, and this is a stereo mic that are also following the motorcycle. So you hear quite a bit of different sounds from the other microphone. And you have one that was sitting by itself, an XY static mic not following. Are you hearing anything over there? Can we get that up? The speaker's not on over there. Can you do that? that speaker is not playing. Do you have control for that? Do you turn it up? Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. Anybody have questions on Rev and things like that? Yes.
Do you ever pull any reflections out? So any like natural delays or anything happening? Do you ever take those out through RX?
Yeah, I have. It's hard. It's hard. Quite often you're gonna fail. So the recording. What I was saying yesterday is that you want to do your best to record while on location. That way you have less editing to do. So if you may want to scout a location first, see what the car sounds like when it's driving really fast in this area. That way you're not gonna get reflection off of a wall behind you. But sometimes actually it's a good thing. I worked on a Pennzoil Ferrari commercial. We rented a drag strip, quarter-mile drag strip, and there were walls in between, and it made it a better sound. So we kept it. And so instead of running next to the racetrack, which we were going to do, we did some test runs, and it sounds like it's in the tunnel, but in a good way. So the walls sort of contain a sound, that went into the microphone. So sometimes you want the reflection. Sometimes you don't. You just got to get a bigger property. Yeah, like the desert. So yeah.
You said sometimes you run out of room. Do you ever just use a dyno?
I have. I've used dyno, and I got a good story about that. So the people know about dynos. Like you put your car on this rolling dyno, and then you're trying to see how many horsepower your car is. I want my car to be 900 horsepower, 1200 horsepower. Well, that's a lot of power. So I know guys who tune cars, and I took a friend's Ferrari to his dyno shop. We drove an hour to get there. Put the car in a dyno. We put a bunch of straps to keep the car on there, in case it jumps off the dyno. And usually when you use dynos, you have fans turned on. You have big, massive industrial fans blowing on the car to keep it cool. Cars get really hot, especially where I'm at in Florida, where it's always like 100 degrees. So we put the Ferrari on dyno, ran it, had the fans off because I was recording, and all of a sudden the Ferrari just shuts off on us. I'm like, oh man, I can't afford to repair that thing. I'm freaking out. And we figure out the computer hates it. The computer is saying, okay, my tires are going 90 miles per hour on the dyno, but I'm not moving. The car is not moving. That's why I don't like dynos, because I hate to hurt a car, especially a Ferrari. That's wrong. That's like dropping your baby. You can't do that. And plus it's really boring, because why would you sit on a dyno in a Ferrari? Don't you want to get on the road or track, right? Am I right? Oh, you're gonna tell me you're wrong? So dyno, if you want to focus in on certain things, and if you like the road, yeah, do it. But I get freaked out. And plus, my friend, the driver, the owner, he's like, wow, the wall's right there. If this thing jumps off, I'm going through that wall. So I didn't like it. It was a horrible session. I got some of the things I wanted, but yeah, for consistency, the dyno works. But I'd rather be on the road, because to me it sounds more natural. That's why, not because I worked on Need for Speed, but to me it sounds more natural. It sounds like me in the car driving. When you drive in a car, you're gonna hear wind noise, but not direct wind. You're gonna hear pleasant wind. You can hear rumbling when you hit a little rock. To me, it's natural. It's the natural, beautiful sound. So I like that. And plus, it's more fun. You're going somewhere. You're seeing your scenery changes. So I like that quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
When you're doing ramps and stuff, if you don't have it long enough, if you're recording like a high fidelity, like 6 going 2K, could you time stretch it and still put it through ramp and not come up with artifacts?
You can. We try that, and it sometimes will work. It depends on the vehicle. Certain vehicles have so much more output that when you stretch it some too much, it just you're losing it. I'm starting to hear artifacts, in the process. So again, it sounds unnatural. Yeah. Um, we could experiment with that, but again, you want to find a good location. So the more you put into doing the best recording you can, the less editing you're going to deal with, or get mad at. All right, we got to do it again because this ramp is not enough. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how it works. I'm going to show any more questions before I move on. Yeah.
Do you have any cool post-processing tricks to make them real beefy and angry?
You could. Do you have any musical skills?
A little bit.
You know about octaves,
Yeah.
perfect fifth. Okay, you could double. You could take the same recording, make another copy, and pitch it one octave higher. And then you can have both go at the same time, and you can add some distortion to it. Before you do that, you want to EQ and take off any unwanted noise, rumbling. So when you're done, you could double it. Some people even triple it, and then add some tritone in there, add some distortion in there, and that's a way to make it beefier. Yeah. So, and some cars are better than others. Some drivers or actors are better than others. If you get a really cool Enzo Ferrari, and you put a guy who's 70 years old in there, you're not going to get an exciting recording. The driver is the actor, so you want to get a preferred mechanic. A mechanic will know, especially a guy who tunes cars, he will know how to make it sing. All right. So if any of you are a recording actor or a singer, anybody ever done that or sat in a session, and you could tell it's like, whoa, we're gonna be for a while, or second take, let's go home, we're done. It's a good singer, good actors. Yeah, they're good. They know what they're doing. So if you get a good driver who could follow instructions, it's going to come out so much better. All right. So you got a race car driver in an Enzo, or a 70-year-old who plays golf. And it's a big difference there. Yeah. I worked on a game. It's on Steam now. It's called H1Z1. I'm going to show you some examples. They hire me to record vehicles for the game. So it's a post-apocalypse game, and it's huge. It's 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers, huge map. So if you're running around, you can't possibly sit there and go run from 10 kilometers to 10 kilometers. So they needed vehicles, and they said to me, we can't possibly buy library sounds of each of the vehicles because most of them don't have ramps. And so it's based on Rev, and so they wanted me to, record custom vehicles that would fit into Rev and other things they do. So again, it's a survival game. People are trying to outdo you. So you have a lot of weapons, the bow and arrow. And again, you got to get somewhere. You need the vehicles. So H1Z1. And I got to record a police car, which is pretty cool to sit in a police car and go and be okay. Now, it took a while to get permission. I'm actually pissed off at 3 different counties near me that said, no, we can't do that. Like, but I want to pay you. Somebody said, hey, Nick, I want to pay you to, have you drive your car for me to record it. You'll say, yeah. Getting paid to drive my car for a game or a movie, you do it. But they didn't want to do it. I don't think they understood. And I sent them examples of here's the videos I've done, here's the games I've done. We're not going for top speed. I want high RPMs, things like that. We're not going to race, do donuts, drifting. So here are some of the actual mapping of rev, acceleration, and deceleration of the police car. So, and here are some files from the actual police car. So acceleration. So you can hear we have plenty of roads to get all the way up to red line smoothly. And then we have the deceleration. And then the idle. It's funny when I submitted these files via FTP, they're like, "That was a police car." It's like, yeah. They're like, "It sounds like a sports car." So well, it's a brand new 2016 Taurus Interceptor. So these four Interceptors are modified. They run really hot, really high RPM. So when they're chasing down bad guys, they could just go. So they were looking for more like a Crown Victoria, the older type. And but hey, I got you a police car. But it worked out, because it's a post-apocalypse game. You're gonna have beat-up cars. All these movies and TV shows you see, Walking Dead, they don't have new cars, so it's gotta be old. So here's a video I did behind the scenes and in game of H1Z1. I'm out here on my top secret road recording a Jeep for the game H1Z1 by Daybreak Games. Right now I have 3 microphones under the hood, 1 near the shifter, and 2 by the exhaust to capture 6 channels on board. Later on I'm going to jump out and record the pass-bys with a shotgun microphone. I want to do that. Nitrous in an ATV, yeah.
out here on my top
Stop.
secret.
Never mind, go ahead. I thought the mic was off.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Still rolling?
Yep.
That wasn't my fault. You threw me off. I was on a roll.
It's a fun project. So when you watch the in game, you could hear the ramp going up and shifting and shifting. So that made it easier. So with the rev technology, your CPU, it's not gonna go spiking like the old ways. It's gonna keep it real low, so that everybody else can have the animation going without killing the game. It's not gonna crash. So that's another reason it's so popular. Is that such a simple technology, and still giving you great sounds. Right? I mean, I think Need for Speed, like, we have all these vehicles, and the sound files are like 500 kilobytes. Like, what? Really? It's that big, massive sound. Those V8 cars, they under a megabyte. That's so cool for a game, And the CPU is not going crazy. So, yeah.
How often do you record brakes and tire squeals and the doors and all that kind of
Well,
stuff?
every session, I always record Foley sounds. We want the doors opening, closing, windows going up and down, locks opening, closing, hatches, the hood, the trunks. Well, you just do that anyway. And then the horns, he said, make sure you get horns. That's okay. That way you could beep at somebody. And it's funny that he didn't tell me that you could do donuts in a Jeep and things like that. And they added in brakes. They didn't tell me to do brakes. It's a little hard to do that, if you do it separately, because most of us, if you have a brake issue that's squeaking too much, you get it repaired. I mean, I could go to my tuner guy and say, hey, let's do some squealing brakes. You can do that. Or let's get focusing on transmission. We could blanket out everything and put a mic on the transmission or the air intake. So,
On the shifter, you said.
what's that?
You put it on the shifter. you said.
I did, so that we could, if it's stick shift, we could do that. That way, with the engine off, that way we could get that shifting sound. But also for the in-cab sound. So if you, in the game with other people in there, you could be first-person perspective and hear the ambience of what it sounds like in the car. And you have the obstruction of the engine, obstruction of the exhaust, that muffled sound. So you could do all that. So that's why we do multi-channels. So we have the options. If you play other games, you're a third-person perspective. You could change the camera angle to first or the side, which I don't know why, just to show. So I've seen sessions like, we want 12 channels. Why? The point of the game is to win, really. I mean, when we drive a race game like Need for Speed, do we slowly get up? No, we just pull the trigger and you keep it there. I mean, until we're white knuckle, we want to go fast. So they had to modify it so that, because we all want to get there as fast as we can. So we squeeze the trigger and let's go. Nobody gradually accelerates. You don't do that. Yeah, it's video games.
How do you record like nitrous in the car, NOS? Like actually
You,
do that?
my tuner guy, the guy who tunes, who actually puts those into cars, we could take it out separately and rig a system where you don't have engine sounds. So he could actually put it on the table and do his magic thing, and I could put my mics there and record that. He could just push a button and get that. And sometimes fabricated. Sometimes, you get a PVC pipe and you do a little flame, to fake it. Because we've been Hollywoodized. We think certain things sound a certain way. Like the Hollywood silencer sound. They don't do that. I've shot plenty of weapons and nah, that's not the Hollywood sound. But my weapons guy say, I found one suppressor that could do that fake Hollywood sound. I said, okay, cool. We'll record it one day, if they need it. So you sometimes have to fake it to make it sound what you and I perceive from decades of watching TV and movies. Yeah. So, cool. Any other questions? Okay. Well, yeah.
Does Rev handle motorcycle sounds differently than it does vehicle sounds?
No, as long as you have a really good ramp, you know. No, it doesn't. Yeah, you can use that as well because the ATV four wheeler that you saw in the video, that was two channel, so it's just like a motorcycle. I was disappointed. I thought it was more like a motorcycle. You go really fast. No, it's a slow vehicle. It's all torque. It's to get around places, you know. So I was misled by again what it is. You know, it's for maneuvering, get around mud and hills. Yeah, exactly, rocks. So you know, it's almost like I did a horse recording for a horse movie, Luke Perry, and I went to my friend who has a horse that he competes with, and I thought because it's a horse, can't you snap your finger? It will go really fast. No, this horse was bred to jump. It was a thoroughbred stallion, big, beautiful horse. And I thought if you slap the ring and squeeze, he'd go really fast. No, it was like a grandma horse. It was slow. I mean, it jumped, and it hated me. It absolutely hated me. Every time I come out with a mic, it would snarl and try to kick me, and I'm like, hey, John, do you know anybody else with a fast horse? He's like, yeah, behind our barn, it's another stable. And I called that lady, and they had fast horses. And smaller, but very friendly. You could touch them, they won't bite you. And they were great. So, and she knew, say, let's go down here where there's more gravel, so you get that more thundering, stomping sound, gallop. Whereas the other place was like sand and grass, so you couldn't hear the galloping. Again, we've been Hollywoodized. We think certain things sound a certain way, but when we took the smaller horses to the like a shell gravel road, it was that thundering sound, which is what we needed for the film. Yeah. So you have to do a lot of experiments and know what these things are. We needed more just the pass by sound, pass by and Foley, and walking the horse in the stable, so you hear that clanking sound. Yeah, but I had a big idea of let's put 4 microphones on a horse. No, they're not gonna like that. They're picky. They're whiny little animals, big animals, and they so. I wish I got to do that. Maybe put a wireless mic on there, but. Yeah, get some saddle noise. Yeah. Well, we did get saddle noise. The other horse had the squeakiest saddle. You just touch it and it squeaks. Whereas the other one that hated me, I couldn't make a sound of it. It was like really well oiled. So you have to experiment and find out who has who, and what a fast horse is capable of. Yeah. And same thing with cars. Again. The driver, hopefully he could drive well and perform well and make the car shine or motorcycle shine. Yeah. So, cool. I typically use remote audio. If you in the video you see me wearing those white headphones, there's like $350, but they're awesome. I could record machine guns with those things. And I could listen, whereas these, I cannot. These are made more for studio, for common sound effects. But if you're going to do gunshots, 50 caliber machine guns, loud race cars, I use remote audio headphones. They have Sony inside, and so they sound good with the ISO. So I could actually shoot a machine gun on my own and listen to what I'm firing. And I've done it. I was like, I couldn't get my assistant, so I'm doing solo today. Got my recorder on me and the mic's around this AK-47, and I can actually do some shots and adjust, do some shots again, and it's great. So those are my favorite. So I couldn't do a gun recording without those, or a loud race car session. They're just great. They're worth the money. Yeah, but they're big and they're tight, but for a reason. What kind of outside sounds?
Like nature and stuff like that, leaves and things.
Yeah, there are certain microphones. The Rode NT4. Oh, yeah, RODE. Yeah, that's an Australian microphone company. Um, they make a great. They make a lot of different microphones. So I have a Rode lavalier. Also for outdoor sounds, if you're on budget, a Zoom H2N. It's got you could change the pattern. You could do XY stereo. You could do MS, so it's direct stereo. Yeah, and then you could do four channels, two in the front, two in the back. Yeah, and you could do ambisonics with it with the new firmware. It's great because it's built in. It's microphones and a recorder all in one to a SD card. All right. And this has been out in the rain, and it still works. I left it out under big leaf to record natural sounds at night, and you could hear like slithering like a snake. You could hear owls, and I thought for sure it'd be dead, but I didn't care. It was cheap, and it still works. Zoom H2N. H as in Harry, 2, and then N as in Nancy. So, good stuff. Yeah. Probably one of my favorite Zoom mics recorders, because it's got a bigger microphones. Yeah, but it's great. I've put it on the racetrack, put it on really low, and you hear just crazy pass-bys. For Mustangs and other race cars. So, and you want to get the windshield, red-headed windscreen. Red-headed windscreen is a Hawaiian company. They make customized specific for the size. They're great, and when it's windy, this really works. Check out their demo. They're playing music outside, and it's windy, and it's rumbling like crazy, horrible sound. And then in the same video, they put this on. You not hear wind noise anymore. But if it's really windy, yeah, forget it. Wait another day. Yeah. So, oh, cool.
Do you ever use just regular omnidirectional mics for ambient sound, or do you go stereo?
I have over 60 microphones. All right, I have a lot to choose from, but one of my favorites right now is a DPA 5100 5.1 surround mic. So I have this one microphone, looks like a granny bicycle seat. So the nickname for this mic is bicycle seat. And inside are 6 microphones, and it's one cable going into my recorder, and I'm recording 5.1 for that mic. No, it's not cheap, but it's $3,500 that mic. But for a reason, it does such a good job. I recorded crowds with it, cars with it. It's great.
Do you need like a specialized encoder, or?
No, the cable itself from the mic going out, it's 6 XLRs. So it's got 6 output. So I have an 8-track recorder, so that 5.1 mic goes into 6 inputs. And on my recorder, I could listen to center, left channel, right, low frequency, subwoofer, and then surround left, surround right. I could listen to each one of them. But when I record that stuff, I basically I'm hearing no airplanes, human sounds. I hit record, and I walk away. Because I'm not going to stand there and try to hold my breath, because it's sensitive. I'll hit record, walk away, always have this on. I'll put my stopwatch on, and I'll record at least 5 minutes, ideally 10 minutes. That way I could get a nice 3-minute loop out of the recording. So it's good. You could just stand there and text, do your social media, and listen. If there are planes, well, stop the recording and wait for the plane to disappear and start again. So you could drink your coffee and text and all that stuff while you're recording. You don't need to stand there. I can't stand there. People just stand there, and they're trying not to deep breathe. But when I do that, I deep breathe more, and at least in the recording. So it's better if you hit record and then walk 20 yards that way and just relax. All right.
Time lapse for sound artists.
What's that?
Sort of like time lapse for sound artists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I have other mics. I have a really cool Rode stereo video mic X. It's one of my favorite stereo mics. it's a camera mic, and it also has output that you can plug it into professional recorders. So that it's dual purpose, and it's running off a 9-volt battery, and the details are awesome. And you could engage -10 and bring the volume down if it's like a gunshot. But everything I recorded, the people, nature, machine guns, it sounds beautiful. So it's one of my favorite mics. But it's $800.
Can you do major sounds in Rev?
No, Rev is especially for you know, the engines. So
What do you recommend for something like that? Something like Proud or
there are you Mac or PC? PC, okay. There's SoundForge.
Sound?
SoundForge, for example, this. You could bring in anything you want. You know, if you record a stereo track, you can do that. No problem. Let's see if I have any. Okay. Here's one. Oops. So this is a 5.1 recording I did. So this is for a film, and they wanted that sunrise, a big open space in a desert, so you get the sunrise, and so the film is you're seeing the sun rising, and you're hearing bugs in the background. So that itself is a 6-channel 5.1 recording, and I could take that. I could highlight the first 2 channels, copy, start a new file in stereo, and paste it. That's the front, left, and right stereo. So insects. I actually find recording ambient sound to be the hardest because we live in such a noisy world. So I swear, every time I hit record, an airplane will fly by. They're watching me. Like, hey, Watson's doing that. Let's fly the airplane now. And a few times I'm recording, a helicopter goes right over my head. So I keep recording because I want that helicopter. You know, I got into ambisonic recordings. We did like the VR stuff, and the microphones are not just stationary. There are you could do height, up or down. And I was testing at the beach, and this helicopter flew right over me, and I kept recording, and I fed that recording to a friend who's making software for VR, and he decoded in the software, and he was freaking out. He's like, the helicopter's right on top of you. You could hear it rising, and it was great. So yeah, that's quiet ambience. Yeah, so you can do it. SoundForge is good. Audacity is another one that's free. You know, you could get away with a lot of stuff with that. Any other PC stuff? Reaper, yeah, I love Reaper. Yeah, that. What's that? Audition, yeah. So if you want to just do simple, natural sounds, yeah, Audacity's free. Reaper is also a pretty good deal. You know, they have a price plan for students, beginners versus professionals. So you can pay a lot less as for example, a student. So, and that's what this is. This is an older version of Reaper, and it lets me control. If let's say I want instead of the, you know, if it was very distinctive between exhaust and engine, I could say, hey, give me a lot less engine and a lot more of the exhaust, or the other way around. So if we had a vehicle with big difference between engine and exhaust, you'll hear that more. Right? I hear some differences, but not enough really to really trick the ears. Yeah, so that's a good software. This is more flexible for multi-tracks. It's great. And it's one of the fastest editing you could do. I mean, I could take sound files and drag it in there very quickly. I could take one that's MP3 format. I could take this WAV file and drag it in there very quickly without having to do conversions. I could say, here's an MP3 right here. Here's a WAV there, and that's it. You don't have to do any conversions, and it's right away. It's ready to go for you to play back and edit. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Any other questions?
Do you have any questions about this per se? I know you do a lot of musical like compositions and stuff. Which VSTs do you use?
I love Waves plugin. Been using it for a long time. They have great compressors, limiters to really beef up the sound and to for mastering and stuff.
What about orchestral stuff? Which VSTs do you use there?
I do still Waves. It depends on the studio. Sometimes I go to different studios and work there, and sometimes I'll use what they have. And I try not to over process, because I think too many things are over processed. So again, it's more about how you record first. All right, do the best you can first, so you have less editing to do. You focus more on mixing, using more of the ear. So if I'm recording an orchestra with snare drums and timpani, I got to make sure those are really central. So if I'm recording a jazz band with singers, I got to make sure the kick drum, snare, and the singers are all really in the foreground, and everything else is not going to drown it out. So a long time ago, I did a lot of recording, mixing of rock, hip hop, jazz, orchestral, and those are the things I learned. Is that you get those first, and then everything is around them. So you want to use your fader as well. Then later on, apply plugins to really bring it out more.
So whenever you, let's say you record something orchestral, do you have you ever augmented like the natural instruments that are playing with like pre-recorded instruments?
I haven't, but other people have.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, if your string session wasn't as good, that has happened, Yeah. So then you bring in your own sample libraries of better strings, and hopefully you can play well in there, and then modify. So I've seen that, but the problem is they're all really tight next to each other. And unless you really had specific microphones in that room for the string section, it's going to be really hard to do that. So it's about techniques. So if you have multiple rooms for an orchestra, to me that's more ideal. Then you can say, oh, they suck. Let's take them out and play it ourselves. In LA strings, whatever you use, and sort of cheat that way. But it's pre-recorded, so it's going to sound good anyway. Not synthetic. So, yeah. Cool. Well, okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And any questions? Let's see. I'm Watson at watsonwu.com, and Wu is WU. So anybody have questions, be happy to answer it. Thank you.